guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is John Campea.
Well, hot damn, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. And if I had one nickel for every Batman versus Superman trailer theory that got emailed to me yesterday, I would be a very wealthy man.
Also here, John Schnepp.
It's a composite bizarro. It's not Superman. How come Doomsday doesn't have all the bones? I saw Hateful Eight last night. What's up, son? 70mm was awesome.
Also here, Mark Ellis.
You saw Hateful Eight last night?
Yep. I saw In the Heart of the Sea.
I saw Tango and Cash. Great movie on TBS. You should check it out.
One of the biggest items of speculation in the movie fan world in recent years has been who will play Indiana Jones next. Hundreds of fan theories ranging from Chris Pratt to Shia LaBeouf to Bradley Cooper. A short time ago, indie producer Frank Marshall suggested that the only person they're looking at for a potential new Indiana Jones movie is Harrison Ford himself. Now, director Steven Spielberg is taking it one step further, saying the following in a recent interview with Screen Daily. I don't think anyone could replace Harrison as Indy. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's certainly not my intention to ever have another actor step into his shoes in the way there have been many actors that have played Spider-Man or Batman. There is only going to be one actor playing Indiana Jones, and that's Harrison Ford. John, do you take Spielberg's comments as suggesting we'll never see another actor play Indiana Jones?
You know, when Marshall came out and made his comments about it, I thought, okay, so that clears the air. The next Indiana Jones movie won't have Pratt, Cooper, whoever else, Shia LaBeouf, whatever. It's going to be Harrison Ford the next one, and then they'll probably move on with whatever. I've read these comments several times, and he really is giving the impressions like, nah, it's Harrison or nothing. Harrison, now, I don't know if he means that in the sense that if Harrison Ford, has his fifth plane crash in 2 months, whatever, that they'll still never make enough. I'm kind of reading it as him saying there will only ever be one Indiana Jones. There won't be any more Indiana Joneses when Harrison Ford can't do it anymore. And I have a hard time believing that, but it does sound to me like that's what Spielberg's saying. I know, Schnepp, you heard his comments. What do you think this all means?
I believe that that's what he wants to have happen, but I mean, there's already been other actors who've played Indiana Jones. River Phoenix played a young Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Why can't we go back and do another flashback sequence with the older Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones and then recast a younger Indiana Jones? They've already done it. They, in fact, had a TV series called The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, where I can't remember the dude's name, but some dude played Indiana Jones in like 30 episodes where he met Benjamin Franklin or whatever. So I haven't seen it. So he didn't meet Benjamin Franklin.
Did he make Benjamin Franklin?
One magical fridge.
It was a time travel episode, guys. Give me a break. I'm just saying, there's been other people who've played Indiana Jones. I have a hard time believing that like in the next 20 years, someone else will not don the fedora and carry that whip, but I'm hoping that they do a fifth Indiana Jones so that I could forget about Crystal Skull once and for all.
And featuring Napoleon as Short Round. I think Indiana Jones is definitely going to continue after Harrison Ford no longer dons the fedora, and here's why: because Steven Spielberg's one of his best friends of all time, his Hawaii vacationing buddy George Lucas, forever said there's not going to be any Star Wars movie unless he's the guy involved with it, and then he sold the company. So people can change, opinions can change, your mind can change about something like this. What is curious to me is that the next Indiana Jones movie seems like it is going, and that Harrison Ford will be there, but do they use a flashback sequence like what we're talking about, which they used that trick in pretty much every Young Indiana Jones Chronicles film, because it was like always old Indiana Jones at the beginning, who was also not Harrison Ford. It was some old Indiana Jones, and he'd find some random kid in like a dentist office to tell a story to. Right. Like, hey, I ever tell you about the time I stole a buffalo nickel from Hitler? And then they went back, and then you saw that adventure. So that's the way they're going to do it. But in order to do that movie, you have to have somebody young playing that version of Indiana Jones. Or is this new Indiana Jones movie going to take place again in the 50s when Indiana Jones has just finished saving the world from aliens, and then they're going to go off on another adventure? So I'm just confused as to what the timeline for Indy 5 is going to be if Harrison Ford is in there.
Yeah, and more to your point, too, about the whole, like they said, they would never do more Star Wars. Remember, for the longest time, Spielberg, Lucas, they all said, after, what was the name of the final one? Indiana Jones and
The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, the Last Crusade?
The Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, they said that was it. They said no more Indiana Jones movies, and then a number of years later they did. So I got to believe Spielberg when he says that, but at the same time, I got to believe there are studio heads that are like, that's nice, Steven, and you do have all the weight in the world, but we'll wait a little while longer and we'll change your mind.
At the end of the day, they're like, you've thrown your name on Transformers. Let us make another Indiana Jones.
All right, what's next?
As you all know, the upcoming Marvel film Captain America Civil War is set to hit theaters on May 6th. In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, franchise star Scarlett Johansson spoke about what side she's on in the new movie and what her strategy seems to be. Johansson said the following: I think when you find her in Civil War, she's looking to strategize her position, putting herself in a place where she is able to let the powers that be fight it out or whatever amongst themselves. She's always a little bit on the perimeter, so she can have a better perspective of what's really going on. Schnepp, in light of these comments, where do you think Black Widow will end up in the fight between Iron Man and Captain America?
I think she's going to ultimately be on Cap's side. I think she'll start out on Iron Man's side, on the government side.
They kind of alluded to that in the trailer, don't they?
Yeah, it feels that way. But it's like, you know, Black Widow, ultimately, she's going to side with Hawkeye. She's going to side with Cap because she's, you know, she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but she's also a Black Ops agent. She's gone through a lot of stuff. So I think ultimately she'll be seeing what Cap sees, what Steve Rogers sees. So.
Mark?
Yeah, I think she's ultimately going to side with Cap for no other reason because she was in the Winter Soldier. I mean, they went to the Apple store, they went to the mall, they went to New Jersey together. They're pretty much a couple.
Those are ties that bind.
I know. If you go to New Jersey with somebody, you're in love, man. So this movie, though, I like these comments because it feels like Black Widow to me. She really has a grip on who this character is, that she's not going to take sides right away. She's going to step back and just kind of survey the land and see what the landscape is and what is best, not only what she thinks is right, but also what is most advantageous for her. Let's not forget who she was before she joined the Avengers. She was a pretty crafty spy, pretty much working for herself. So I like how Scarlett Johansson knows this person so well.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of misdirect going on with the Marvel marketing on this film because they do show us her fighting on Iron Man's side. And maybe she starts off that way. Maybe she's legitimately starting off that way because you see her having that phone conversation. It's like basically saying, like, doesn't this make sense? I think she will be the first character to have the aha moment, where it's like she sides, she agrees philosophically with the Tony side, but then something happens that makes her realize Cap's right. And usually in all the Marvel movies, it ultimately comes down to, you know what, Cap was right. And I think I agree with both of you guys. At some point, she's going to ultimately wind up on Captain America's side. That just seems to where she naturally falls. I think it would feel weird if this movie ends and she's on Iron Man's side, not Captain America's, because of all the history you mentioned.
And let's not forget what the name of the movie is. It ain't called Iron Man Civil War. It's called Captain America Civil War. Black Widow's going to go with Cap, I think.
Wouldn't that be weird if at the end of the movie she's like, I'm with Zemo or whatever. Puts a weird purple mask on. What are you doing? Yeah.
All right, folks, it's that time of the show now for Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her ass, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
As most of you will remember, Paramount Pictures recently delayed their upcoming new Friday the 13th movie, pushing it back to January 13, 2017. Now, according to a report in The Wrap, the film has parted ways with director David Bruckner, who previously directed The Signal. The report also claimed that they've brought a new screenwriter on board in Prisoners and Contraband writer Aaron Guzikowski. Mark, overall, buy or sell the recent moves for Friday the 13th?
I'm going to buy it, and I'll tell you why. It sounds strange to buy anything involved with a Friday the 13th movie. It gets delayed or you lose somebody, but I like the addition of the writer because he's done Prisoners, and he seems like somebody who's been on the short list of a lot of Hollywood projects, and he's been hired to work on the Wolfman reboot. I don't know if that's still going on, but he was tapped to do that, and if anybody can do the Wolfman, maybe it's the guy who's also going to do Friday the 13th. Losing a director is never like good news. You never wake up and you're like, oh, sweet, that movie I'm looking forward to has nobody behind the camera now. I don't care who's directing Friday the 13th. Jason's mom could be directing the new Friday the 13th movie because the brass at whoever's making Friday the 13th is like, we want to take the story in a different direction. That usually makes me nervous. When you have a writer, the quality of who they hired, I think it's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this too. And because the fact, look, I do get a little bit more nervous when they mention that a director has dropped out, but we are basically almost 2 years away from that. So it's not as if they were well into pre-production, well into production. Now they're still clearly at the script development stage. And you're right. If you've seen Prisoners, the strength of that movie is in the script. I mean, that movie is so well written. And now you're bringing the guy who did that to Friday the 13th? To me, that's a fascinating mix. And I was always fascinated when they added him to that new Universal Monster movie mix at the same time. So for me, this is good news. For me, it's a buy.
I'm going to sell this on the premise simply that it's Friday the 13th. How long is it going to take you to make this? It's kids at Camp Crystal Lake, for Christ's sake. What's going on? How long ago was the last Friday the 13th? It's over 7, 8 years? How long does it take?
Jensen Ackles, I believe.
The code's been broken. There's been 8 Friday the 13th already. It's Jason. He kills kids while they're having sex. Write the script. Somebody make this. It's insanity.
It is confusing to me that they already had a team of 2 writers developing the script. Now they got to bring us. It's a guy in a hockey mask with a bunch of kids having sex at the lake.
How many producers are on this? It's like 3 years ago, I felt we reported they finally broke the code. They're going to do it like first person, like a dude's walking around with a camera. That fell apart. How hard is it to make? Just make it.
Have you seen
This is
the
driving me
recent
crazy.
attempts? Do you want to see them greenlight a movie where Jason goes into space again? Like when you go into the Olive Garden, you don't yell at them to say, "Hey, give me the breadsticks already." You wait until they're done in the oven.
Ellis, I liked the reboot that they made 7 years ago. I don't know if you saw it, but I actually liked it.
I did see it, and I dug it okay.
And
I
it
dug the
made
most
money.
recent Nightmare on Elm
It made
Street.
money. They could have busted out 3 more of those and then done this Prisoners, dude. Like, hey, redo it. Bring back the girl Roby, whatever that chick from the TV series Friday the 13th. Do that stuff. I don't care. I just want to see it. I'm making Thursday the 12th. And if I make Thursday the 12th before you idiots make Friday the 13th, you owe me like $5.
And just to correct myself, I said Jensen Ackles. It was not Jensen Ackles. He was in that Valentine movie. It was his other supernatural partner. It was Jared that was in that one. All right, what's next?
There was a lot of excitement when it was first announced that Sony and Marvel had signed a deal which would allow Marvel to use Spider-Man in their cinematic universe films, while Sony continued to produce standalone Spider-Man films with the ability to use Marvel MCU characters. Spider-Man has been set to make his first appearance in the MCU in the upcoming Captain America Civil War film, but nothing has been seen or heard from Spider-Man in any of the trailers or marketing so far. To add more confusion to the situation, Iron Man and Captain America can't seem to agree if Spider-Man will even appear in the film at all. In interviews with Entertainment Weekly, Robert Downey Jr. apparently confirmed Spider-Man's appearance in the film, saying the following: Cheetah and I are going, wow, dude, look at this. We're now like the old guard, and our storyline carries real weight just because of our history in the canon. But we're also looking around like, who thought that Falcon and Black Panther and Ant-Man and now Spider-Man? I mean, it's like, wow, this thing is just crazy. However, Chris Evans doesn't sound so sure when he said, "You never know with Marvel. Sometimes they shoot things and they don't use them." John Byers saw that Spider-Man will actually appear in Captain America Civil War.
I am absolutely buying that Spider-Man will appear in Civil War. Absolutely buying. But, like several other news items that have come up recently, this story just really reaffirms to me yet again about how small Spider-Man's role is going to be in the film. Like if we're talking, if Evans is not just being coy, if Evans is to be believed with his comments, it kind of sounds like he probably shot a couple of things. And remember, they only hired Tom Holland. Like when the production of the movie was already beginning, they were already shooting the film when they shot. They were already well into the shooting of the movie when they brought him on board. His role only could be very limited. You know, they already replaced him, you know, thematically, the Spider-Man character from the Civil War story with Black Panther already. They already did that. So I completely believe he's going to be in it. I think it would be a bit of a waste not to have him at least appear, but I am more convinced than ever that it's going to be an incredibly small role. Schnepp, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not going to be the central theme character that Cap and Iron Man are fighting over. I mean, I think we know that he's in high school, like, because Kevin Feige's already said he's in high school and this is happening. He's already got his own movie that's being shot, like, in about 3 months. I'm guaranteeing that I 100% think he's going to be in the film, but that means nothing. But so yeah, they could cut it out, but that would be the dumbest thing in the world. So yeah, he'll be in it, but for like maybe 3 minutes or something.
Yeah, he's just going to be a Force ghost in the new Civil War movie. Or am I getting my canons confused? But he is the Luke Skywalker of this movie because you see the poster, you see the trailer, and it's like, oh, there's this one guy that I heard is going to be in the movie. I haven't seen any publicity for. I don't think you're going to. Here's the big question: it's not whether Spider-Man is going to be in the movie or not. Is Peter Parker going to be in the movie? Do you meet some kid, some snot-nosed high school kid who's cracking jokes and is a nerd and hasn't turned into Spider-Man yet, or is Spider-Man, but we don't know that he's Spider-Man yet? Does he don the actual suit in Civil War, or is it just some kid who's driving everybody else around?
Now, I thought we heard that Marissa Tomei had signed up that she was going to
She's
appear
Aunt
as
May.
Aunt May in Civil War. Now, if we're going to meet her, I'm going to make maybe a naive assumption that we'll probably see Peter Parker at the same time. Not sure, but you know, I think this puts to rest. There's a lot of theories going around out there about how in Civil War, Captain America is going to meet Spider-Man. Sorry, Iron Man is going to meet Spider-Man. Tony's going to develop a relationship with Peter Parker, and then Tony's going to develop the spider armor. He's going to develop technology for this. It's like, nah. That's like 2 acts of an entire movie. Like that can't happen in the type of time frame we're talking about here.
If you want to make a bet, now what would the post-credit scene? There should be like 9 post-credit scenes for Civil War. By the way,
That's right.
One of them has to involve Spider-Man, right? Because they always have like the funnier, the lighter one, and then the serious one. The serious one is probably going to be something with Infinity War. The lighter one could be a Spider-Man.
I wonder if they'll have a sequence where, because it's about the, either you got to give up your secret identity, but everyone kind of knows who Steve Rogers is and who that Iron Man is Tony Stark. I wonder if there's some sequence where, Spider-Man doesn't have his full suit yet and he gets caught by Captain America and like pulls the mask off. You're just a kid. Saying I'm making up my own script. But, that would work for me if he's like, kid, just keep the mask on or whatever. Just some little moment there where you see Spider-Man and you see him later as Peter Parker with his aunt watching TV or something. Some post-credits thing. That's cool enough for me to just see like 2 short sequences, less than a minute each with Spider-Man.
What if they pull a Godzilla thing? What if, you got the 2 sides of Civil War. You got Iron Man and his team, you got Captain America and his team, and they're about to start the battle, and then you cut to Spider-Man, Peter Parker sitting in his living room watching it on TV. And you don't actually see the Civil War fight. They pull a Godzilla.
I get up and leave the theater, and then I go to yell at people. I will try to find them.
I leave that theater and I walk right into Friday the 14th, my movie that's going right up against Schnepp's Thursday the
12th. Remember, against Friday the 14th. You will see the battle happening.
All right, guys. Well, it's Friday, which means it's time for us to make our box office predictions brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. Every Friday, we uselessly try to predict, because we do not have a good track record of this lately, try to predict what are going to be your top 5 films at the box office come Monday's box office report. So there's a bunch of films. Now only one new wide release coming out, and that's Krampus. So Mark, let's start with you. Come Monday, what is going to be the top 5 at the box office on Monday morning?
You want to send your kids to private school? Bet on these right now. Number 1 is still going to be Hunger Games Mockingjay. It's going to edge out, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Krampus. I think Krampus is going to do better than expected because it's a horror comedy around Christmas. People are getting into the season. Number 3 is going to be The Good Dinosaur. Number 4 is going to be Creed. And number 5, I'm going to bet on Christmas. I'm going to bet on St. Nick and say The Night Before hangs in there, edges out Spectre for the number 5 spot.
I am a little bit different from you. I will go with number 1 is still going to be The Hunger Games. I think that's going to be there too. I'm going to say that number 2 is going to be held onto by The Good Dinosaur, though. It's got fairly good positive word of mouth. There's no other kid film opening up against it, and so I think its drop is going to be less than 50%. I think it's going to hang in there pretty good. In third place, I'm just going to say Creed still stays in third place. Ooh. Word of mouth has been incredible about this movie, and it deserves every praise and adulation it's getting. In fourth, I think will be Krampus, and then coming in fifth, I believe Peanuts will stay up there, and I believe in fifth place will be Peanuts.
All right, well, I'm slightly different, but kind of similar. Hunger Games, number 1. Number 2, I think Creed will edge up because of word of mouth. Number 3 will be Good Dinosaur. Number 4 will be Krampus, and number 5 will be The Night Before, because I think The Night Before is going to hang on. You know, it's like people, word of mouth about that has just been great. So
you guys are really, do you guys not understand that Krampus he's like a half demon, half goat that's on the roof, and it gets really cold, and Adam Scott and David Kettner are in it.
I know, but
box office gold.
Michael Shannon is in the Night Before. You guys got to see this movie.
Yeah, I will say this though. We often talk about how it's impressive if a movie can drop below 50% from week 1 to week 2. That's a good thing. Night Before dropped 15%. 15%
I mean,
from week 1 to week 2.
It wasn't exactly that high to begin with.
No, but still, going from week 1 to week 2 and only dropping 15%,
which is
that's
great word
impressive.
of mouth. People are telling their friends, go see this in the theater so you can laugh with other humans.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for Mailbag. Look, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Now, for those of you watching us live, and we're doing this show live, you can tweet to us live right now. Hop on Twitter. Make sure you're following us at Collider Video. Send on in your tweets, and then Ashley, who is our gatekeeper today, will decide whose tweets gets on the show. We'll get to those in just a few minutes, but for now, let's get to the mailbag questions. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Josh Tuning writes, "Hey guys at Collider, greetings from Australia. I'm a huge fan and watch every single episode.
Thank
My
you.
question I have is, what if the Doomsday we've seen in the B vs. S trailer number 2 is just the initial stage? He gets defeated and Lex takes him back to be reincarnated. Would you still feel the trailer showed too much if that happened in the movie.
Okay, what you're suggesting, if you look at the comic books, is actually, I mean, this is very different Doomsday from the comic books, but story path-wise, there's some consistency there. Doomsday was created as a genetic experiment who was like born, killed, left to evolve, then they take the DNA and regrow it again, let it get killed, let it be grown, and do it thousands of times until you get the ultimate survival killing machine in Doomsday. So what you're suggesting, kind of thematically consistent with the comic books, but in asking the question is, if they just defeat him right there and then he comes back bigger and badder and stronger, does that make it less of a spoiler giveaway? The thing is that for me personally, maybe it's different for you, but for me personally, the spoiler wasn't seeing Doomsday. I mean, almost every movie show us the bad guy in their trailer. Very few don't, but most of them do. So that wasn't the giveaway. The giveaway, the spoiler, the thing that ruined the trailer for me was the fact that the movie is called Batman versus Superman, and then you show us the part after the part where they fought and now they're on the same team, and you showed that in the trailer. We're not idiots. We all know, you knew, we knew, we all knew that at some point in that movie, Batman and Superman team up because they got to get to Justice League. We understand that, but you don't show it in the trailer. So even if that Doomsday gets defeated and then he comes back bigger and badder and stronger, that doesn't fix the problem for somebody like me, who I did not want to see Batman and Superman done their fighting. Christian put it perfectly yesterday. He said showing that scene changed it from a Batman v Superman trailer to a Dawn of Justice trailer. And that was the part that ruined it. So I don't know, Schnepp, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And especially they showed, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all like fighting a creature, and then the title "Batman versus Superman" comes up, which is just stupid. So yeah, I like a lot of the fans yesterday like recut the trailer and
yes.
cut out the annoying Jesse Eisenberg, like the little overacting Lex Luthor stuff, and they cut out that sequence with Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman as friends, and all of a sudden the trailer was kind of awesome. So I wish that, whoever was cutting that trailer could be, someone goes back in time and fires that dude and then releases the recut version. But it's too late. It's ruined. So, is Doomsday going to get smashed and reborn and look more bony and more like Doomsday? Probably not. I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think so.
And it's not a matter of just one spoiler. It's a whole flock of kittens were let out of the bag early by this trailer. The biggest one being them teaming up at the end. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? If you're just an average movie fan and you see this, maybe people don't want to see. Maybe the studio is worried about people thinking that this whole movie is going to be Batman versus Superman when it's, these are two superheroes. I want them to team up and be on the same team. And maybe that's what they wanted to show. As far as Doomsday goes, I think in the third act he teams up with Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael to go get Shredder. I love that theory from Australia. I think that's probably the correct one, is that Doomsday, you send him out on an initial mission, he gets his ass kicked, he comes back, he evolves. His evolution of that character is so huge in his portrayal in the comic book, so I think that'll transfer to the big screen.
All right, what's next?
Jack Wickham writes, "Hey Collider crew, love all the stuff you guys do. With the hype for Force Awakens increasing by the millisecond, I'm suddenly getting more excited for the rest of the upcoming Star Wars films, including Rogue One and the Han Solo movie. But then I read about the heavily rumored Boba Fett movie that's apparently releasing in 2020, but is this officially confirmed? I can't find any announcement that says that it's actually happening. I hope it does, because I think a Boba Fett movie could be badass. What do you guys know, and may the Force be with you?"
I don't want a Boba Fett movie, simply because once again, it's Lucasfilm shrinking the universe instead of expanding it. It's like, let's explore new things, whatever. But if they did, I would be excited to see it. I would go and see it, absolutely. I just would have secretly wished they were doing something else. We can tell you for fact that Lucasfilm was planning a Boba Fett movie. We know this. It was supposed to come when it was
supposed to come. It was going to be during the Solo the Solo movie came out. So you had Rogue One coming out next year, then you had Episode 8, and then you were going to have your Boba Fett movie, and then the director shifts happened.
Yeah, and now that where that Boba Fett movie was going to be, now we're getting Lord and Miller are directing a young Han Solo movie, which we talked about a lot yesterday. That leads me to believe that if they were all ready to go on a Boba Fett movie, they're probably still planning on it. But to the best of my knowledge, there has been no confirmation. There is no official word that it's actually coming, let alone in 2020. Very well could, because as I said, they have been planning it. So maybe that is the one they're going to drop in 2020. It seems to make sense that they did, but as of right now, there's no official confirmation. Schnepp, what have you heard?
Yeah, I've known about a Boba Fett movie for a long time. I think they're still going to make that Boba Fett movie. It just happened that the guy who was directing it dropped out, or things happened. They had to shift it up. That's why Lord and Miller aren't doing Flash, because they had to. That thing's not over there; it's over here now. So things got moved around. They're definitely going to make this movie. It's a badass Western. I think the character, although like the lightest used character, and I think all of the Star Wars, little cartoon characters and toys that you have of Boba Fett, he's in the movie for like less than a minute if you add it all up.
Yeah.
That character though is iconic, and the idea of the character it resonates with everybody. So I think people want to see more. The character looks so cool, and the idea about the character as a bounty hunter, all those things that were never explored. He's in a Sarlacc pit somewhere. That doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be another character can don the Mandalorian outfit and be Boba Fett.
Let me ask you this. Let me play a little over-under with you guys. All right? Over-under. I'm going to set the line at 40%. The line is 40%. Over or under. The chances that a Boba Fett movie, should it happen, will take place after the events of Return of the Jedi, as opposed to a young Boba Fett. So I'm setting the line at 40%. Mark, let's start with you. Over or under 40%?
I'm rolling the dice. You want to send your kids to college now after they already got their private school education? You bet that is definitely going to happen. I think it's afterwards, because everybody wants to know, did he get out of the Sarlacc before it pooped him out 1,000 years later? I think that's the case. Nobody wants to think that Boba Fett died in the Sarlacc pit, that was his ending, so I think he gets out. Then you can tie it maybe into more stuff that we're going to see in this new trilogy.
I say under. I say it happens before Star Wars: A New Hope, so that they can use.
So it's a younger.
It's a younger Boba Fett, so that they can actually have that scene where in the Han Solo movie he sees Boba Fett, and then in the Boba Fett movie at the same exact time Boba Fett sees Han Solo.
Well, you know what else if this was the Marvel universe, I would guarantee that something like that's going to happen, and that a post-credit scene in the Han Solo movie would involve Boba Fett. Imagine if you didn't see Boba Fett in the Han Solo movie, credits roll, then Han discovers and he sees Boba Fett over there. It'd be pretty sweet.
All right, and the correct answer is over. It is over 40%. All right, what's next?
Tristan Pennicott writes, "Hey guys, love the show. As an avid wrestling fan and a fan of movies, how come The Wrestler didn't open the floodgates for a wrestling biopic? I love to see one on Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake, or Steve Austin. Thanks, and keep it filthy if you smell what The Rock is cooking."
That was a great rock,
I've
actually.
been practicing for like 10 years.
Love it. Well, okay, if you want to get really just down to the brass tacks, but why did The Wrestler not open up a floodgate of wrestling movies? Because The Wrestler made no money. I mean, compared to its production budget, yes. But I mean, look, in North America, it made about $23 or $24 million. That's not the type of numbers that would make an industry go, oh my God, we got to start producing wrestling biopics, or even just pure fictional narratives. That's not the type of money that'll do that, so that's why it didn't happen. Now, as a kid who grew up watching wrestling, oh my God, I would love an Andre the Giant movie. Who plays Andre the Giant, though? But anyway, I'll just watch The Princess Bride, and I'll just call that my biopic of Andre the Giant. There are several lives in the world of wrestling. There's several tragic stories in the world of wrestling that you could look at and do stuff like that. But if the basis of the question is why didn't The Wrestler open those floodgates, it's because, I mean, for a small budget film, as an indie film, it was great. But as far as something that could influence the entire industry, it just didn't do that kind of business. Schnepp, what about you? Did you think maybe that The Wrestler could have opened up that sort of flood? And do you think we could get movies like that in the future?
I'm hoping John shuts me down with "it doesn't matter what you think." let me set you up. Well, John, what I think is...
It doesn't matter what you think! Okay.
If John Campea, if I don't make me... I love those wrestling moves. If you, and then... I think Mankind, Mick Foley, he's great.
Oh, he would be great. Do you ever read his book?
No, I didn't read his book, but a lot of people have told me about his book, and I think he would be a great subject as far as a biography is. He's gone through everything. So I think Dennis at the meeting, the pre-production meeting, mentioned he's like, well, because The Wrestler wasn't about wrestling. It was about the behind the scenes of the wrestling. So I think that's why The Wrestler itself didn't spawn a giant wrestling movie franchise.
Yeah, and it was also about the effects of what wrestling, what that career will do to somebody's soul and to their physical body. So I'd like to see something that takes place in the time during the 80s when wrestling was at its peak and you had all these villains like the late Roddy Piper, who I got to know a little bit before he unfortunately passed away. He would tour with these guys, with like Andre the Giant, and he'd go into arenas and get booed. And then he'd come off and he's like the nicest guy in the world. So it'd be interesting to see how those tours went down when they were all at the peak of their powers. I don't think you're going to see something on a big scale like that because, like John said, the wrestler didn't make a lot of money. It was an awards kind of movie. And I don't see a Stone Cold Steve Austin biopic being at the Oscars, you know? I don't see that happening.
I haven't followed wrestling in a long time. Like, me and my buddies still get together and watch WrestleMania every year. Like, I'll have no idea who's who, but I'll still do that. But for another friend of mine got me to listen to an episode of Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. It's really funny. It's really, really good. And then a friend on the topic of wrestling, I just got to share this, totally pointless. I shouldn't even be bringing it up. But a friend of mine just sent me this morning this video of the late, great Ravishing Rick Rude. Remember Ravishing Rick Rude?
Oh, yeah.
When he was wrestling in Japan, I guess a legit move by bad guys would be to literally grab you by the balls. So there's this wrestling. So there's this wrestling match going on. You got to find this video. It's amazing. It's Ravishing Rick Rude wrestling this Japanese wrestler, right? And the Japanese wrestler, as the ref turns around, goes, vroom, and grabs Rick Rude by the balls. And Rick Rude is just like and he starts shaking his head, he knows, and then he flexes, and as he's flexing, the Japanese wrestler who's holding onto his balls starts acting as if his hand's in pain, going, ah, as if Rick Rude was killing it with his penis. I think it was one of the funniest, most ridiculous things I had ever seen in my life.
I got a new move for the Ellis Backyard Wrestling Thanksgiving 2016.
The ball clutch.
All right, folks, I said we would take some moments to take your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter, @ColliderVideo. Tweet on in your questions. Suck up to Ashley. Let's see if we can get your question on. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Aaron writes, how much say does the director of a movie have in making the trailers?
It for the most part, almost none. There are some directors that have the kind of clout that they will have those, but honestly, they don't even have time for that. They're cutting these trailers together while the directors are still working on their films. Like I said, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, it's not their fault. If we're going to talk about bad trailers, what about you? What do you think, Sean?
Usually they don't have anything to do with that. That's the marketing department, and you'd be surprised at how separate all these companies that make the same product end up becoming. Like, there's the film division, there's a production arm that's actually making the film, there's editorial, and there's actually marketing, which is a separate, complete entity. So usually not that much. You witness John Carter. There's no Of Mars, and then John Carter's like, the advertising for it was like horrible. It was like a bunch of weird red apes and a dude standing. No one went to go see the movie. No one knew what it was. I mean, same thing with Edge of Tomorrow. I mean, it's these kinds of decisions that doesn't really have anything to do with when they're making the film and hey, we've got this awesome script called, Live, Die, Repeat. It's not even called that. It's All You Need Is Kill. But then they change it to Edge of Tomorrow. It sounds like a soap opera. No one goes to see the soap opera. Then they change it to Live, Die, Repeat. Now you have a movie with 3 titles. You don't even know what it is.
Yeah, they really clutched the balls out of the title of that movie. I think when it's a bigger movie like Star Wars or Civil War, that everybody, the brain trust all sits around a room, and maybe like J.J. Abrams isn't the one cutting the trailer, but they definitely look at that before they release it to the public, and he might give notes. But for a smaller movie, I don't think there's much say.
All right, what's next?
Jedi Master Brack writes, who was your movie crush when you were younger?
Okay, my first movie crush ever was, what's her name again? She was in Friends.
Courtney Cox.
Courtney Cox, when she was in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. She was so ridiculous. I mean, she's beautiful now, but I mean, whew. And then after that, for a lot of years, it was Cameron Diaz. Because if you've seen Cameron Diaz in The Mask, I mean, that was another level. So those were some of the ones when I was younger.
Definitely Carrie Fisher from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Sybil Danning from Battle Beyond the Stars. Look her up. Jane Seymour, Linda Carter. I had a lot of crushes.
I'm going to go with Alicia Silverstone. Had a pretty big crush on her when she was doing Clueless and those Aerosmith videos, but the one, the only, the all-time great, Cindy Crawford, when she won an Oscar for her portrayal of whoever she played in Fair Game. God, what a bad movie, but there was rumors you got to see more Cindy Crawford you ever got to see before, so I was there opening day. What a perv I was.
And 15 years from now, there's a whole generation of guys that would say, well, who was your celebrity crush when you were younger? They're going to say Ashley Mova.
That's right.
I don't blame them.
Man, when she would shake her shoulders on a Wednesday. Oh, my God.
Oh.
All right, what's next?
Ben Hyde writes, what genre do you think will be the next big thing?
That's tough to say. I mean, everything seems to be circular in Hollywood. Like one trend comes, one trend goes. I mean, I think you're going to see a reemergence at some point of the action buddy cop movies, just because there's a lot that lends towards that. But look, right now the trend is comic book movies, and there's no sign of it slowing down. For 6 years, I've had people telling me, "Oh, people are going to get tired of comic book movies any day now." They've been saying it for 6 years. And the fact, and then what happens? They put out Captain America Civil War trailer, gets 61 million views in the first 24 hours. The interest in comic book movies is not going anywhere. You're going to have to get a string. I've been saying this for a long time. You're going to have to get a string of 3 or 4 truly bad comic book films in a row. And they're making better comic book films today than they ever have before. And it's going to be a while before that. It will happen. Eventually, it will happen. I'm just saying that's not on the radar yet.
Right.
Not at this point. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I've been hearing that doom saying since like 2003. It's all over after. It's like, relax. Here we're at 2015. Why don't you relax for a minute? I think the trends are science fiction is going to be trending in more. I think even like Green Lantern Corps, they're going to have the buddy cop science fiction superhero movie. You'll see different,
fun.
Yeah, different genres kind of blending. I'd love to see a sci-fi western. I'd love to see. So I think that's what with cosplay doing the mashups. I think you're going to see a lot more movies taking chances, doing genre busting and trying like mix-ups. I think that'll be exciting.
Video game movies.
It's totally video game movies. They're going to start making them really good, and Mortal Kombat will be threatened for the greatest video game movie of all time.
I mean,
Pitfall, the movie.
Hey, look, and it could be
Pitfall,
closer.
Uncharted?
That could be closer than we think. Because look, we've been saying for like 2 years now, there is a day coming, there's an age coming when 2 films are coming out: Assassin's Creed, Warcraft. These could be the movies, if they're great, that could truly usher in a new era of what could be the big genre.
And it ain't going to be Ratchet and Clank. Sorry. But right after that, video game
you know how many
movies.
people, whenever I bring that up, and say, "John, you keep forgetting Ratchet and Clank." It's like, no, I didn't forget.
Splinter
Ratchet
Cell
and
with
Clank.
Tom Hardy. When's that going to get made?
Oh, we're waiting for that. Okay, 2 more.
All right, Aaron Odes writes, was there any movie you went to see and after was like, I kind of want my money back?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can say that specifically. I know that there were 3 films. I don't know if I remember that now. There's only 3 films in my life I've ever walked out of. One was Dark Water with Jennifer Connelly. That was just terrible. Then the next one was the one with Johnny Knoxville where he pretends to be a Special Olympian.
The Ringer.
Yeah, they were trying to have a positive. I understand. Hey, full marks for what they were attempting to do, what their motive was, but it just came across as insulting to me. It was it's like, hi, I'm sorry, I don't find making fun of people being particularly funny unless it's Mark Ellis. So there's that, and then the third one that I walked out of was Movie 33. I just couldn't take that one. It is Movie 33, right? That's the name of it?
40-something.
42, 43,
yeah.
Whatever. I don't even care to remember the name of it. I walked out of that one in like 15 or 20 minutes. I just could not stomach it anymore. So I didn't ask for my money back, but if I would have, it would have been those 3 movies.
Batman Forever, man. I was excited for Batman Forever, and I walked out. Like, not only what happened to my money, what happened in my last 2 hours, I was like, what happened to my life? This is everything for me. I got to go back home and start from scratch, and that's when I picked up Magic the Gathering. You're welcome, ladies.
It was last year. It was The Counselor, Ridley Scott's. All these amazing stars and Cormac McCarthy's script. I was like, can't wait for an amazing. What is this garbage I'm watching? Holly and I were like, well, do you want to leave? We didn't know if either one of us wanted to stay, so we didn't say anything. And then like an hour into it, I was like, this is horrible. So then we kind of just endured it. But yeah, that's the movie I saw it for free. And I wanted my money back.
All right, last question of the day.
All right, the Film Circle writes, if there's a post-credit scene in The Force Awakens, what do you want it to be like?
I still look. A lot of people still say Episode 8. I want a post-credit scene for Rogue One. I understand that. Hey, but it happened so many decades before. Yeah, I get that. But I think you can just have a little subtitle come up 40 years ago, and then that happens. I just think it would make sense. There's still a lot of people who are kind of confused about what Rogue One is amongst the general movie-going population. So I think a post-credit scene in stars, and don't save it for the very end, just have one of those mid-credit scenes so you still get everybody in the theater. I think it's an opportunity for them to set up Rogue One. So that's where I hope the direction they go. What do you think, Mark?
Well, it depends because I haven't seen The Force Awakens yet, so I don't know what happens in that. But if they kill Han, I want the post-credit scene to be Han coming back to life, being like, now it's a scratch. I'm cool, guys.
I want credits. I want all the credits to go 10 minutes. I don't care how many credits. Then you see the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
And then you see a zombie Boba Fett come to life. That's what I want.
Wait,
So-
you don't want Boba Fett to survive. You
No.
want dead zombies.
Yeah, this is
Boba
35
Fett.
years later. It's happening while The Force Awakens, and so
And he's got a hockey mask and a
Yeah.
knife, and he goes kills
I
campers.
like it.
Or what if there's some kind of big battle wherever Darth Vader's helmet is, and there's a lot of electricity flying around, then at the end of the movie goes back to that helmet, and all of a sudden you hear the breathing start, that Darth Vader breathing.
Wow, that'd be
no. All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing out our friends over at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course your movie ticket information. Make sure you stop for a second and click the subscribe button, become a subscriber to our channel, keeping you up to date on everything we got going on over here. And I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here on my left, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp. You can get my film, The Death of Superman Lives What Happened, by going to www.tdoslwh.com. Get that digital download. Support independent film. What's up?
Sitting over here on my right, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Comedy Store tomorrow night, Saturday night, and I just posted new tour dates for early 2016 on Twitter and Instagram at 5150 Ellis.
And our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people
I
find
heard you say nude tour dates.
Nude tour dates,
That's what
baby.
I
I'm
heard.
taking it all off.
You guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Friday, guys.
And you guys can find me on Facebook and on Twitter simply by following me at John Campea. And don't forget, my new book, my new novel, The Pride, was scheduled to come out mid-December. It's actually going to be late January there, so keep your eyes open for that, and I'll let you know when it is available. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us for Collider Video. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.